by my partner Brandon Averill. Today,
Disclaimer: Erik Averill and Brandon Averill are the co-founders of AWM Capital. Due to industry regulations, it's essential to explicitly state that investment or strategies mentioned on this podcast may not be suitable for you, and you should discuss your specific situation with a qualified, certified financial planner. All opinions expressed by podcast participants are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of AWM Capital or its affiliates. For more information, visit athleteceo.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Athlete CEO podcast. I'm your host, Erik Averill, and I'm joining you down from sunny Jupiter, Florida today. And we are going to take a break from our usual format of interviewing a guest to create some space for me to address a topic that I'm convinced more than ever will have the greatest impact on your life. Yet it is rarely addressed with the urgency and the intentionality that I think it deserves. You see, as a private wealth advisor for professional athletes and founders, I have the privilege to be exposed to some of the most financially successful people in society. For many of our clients, they've achieved what most people will spend a lifetime chasing: financial independence. And what I've quickly learned is that having enough money doesn't guarantee happiness. Now, this is probably not earth-shattering news to the audience, yet it has also been my experience that very few people, regardless of financial circumstance, can confidently tell me that chasing more money is not what consumes their time and effort. That's what I want to address today. At the beginning of every meeting, I make the statement that money is not the end goal. It's a means to an end. And then follow up with the next question. So why is money important to you? The typical answers that we hear are, first, not having money causes worry, it causes stress. And so financial freedom to me is just not having to worry about money. And then second, I would love to provide for my family long term. Now, those are two unbelievable goals that I have for my own family. But those are outcomes. Those are goals. Those aren't actually the why behind money. There's nothing of purpose or substance. So I try to press deeper in the conversation to ask, why are those important to you? And this is where most people get stuck. And it's because it's a weird question. It's not a question that we think about on a regular basis. You see, most people, they can't articulate why they are actually doing what they're doing. They lack clarity. We find ourselves spending our lives pursuing more, and we don't know truly why. Yet we're shocked that when we finally arrive at the end, we're still left wanting for more. More fulfillment, more purpose, more contentment. I'm on a mission to break this chain of events. When you meet with a financial advisor, the typical structure is that the advisor is going to start the meeting by asking you, hey, what are your financial goals? I'm going to argue that while goals can provide us with a general direction to aim at, it's actually the wrong place to start. In his recently released book, author James Clear shares 5 problems of starting with goals in the book Atomic Habits. The one that stuck out to me the most and I wanted to focus in on is goals actually restrict your happiness. At first glance, I thought that this was really strange until he articulated it and said, the problem with the goals first mentality is that you're continually putting happiness off until the next milestone. And I think for the athlete, a prime example is, I just want to get drafted. And so you get drafted and there's huge emotional high. But then it's, all right, now I've got to get to the big leagues. And then you get to the big leagues and there's a huge emotional high. And then you're putting your head down and now it's a grind until I sign a long-term contract, until I win a World Series. Oops, my career's over. Now, where's my purpose and my happiness? Or for me as a business owner and other business owners out there, it's we just need to do X amount in revenue this year. And so you hit that goal. And if we've got to be honest, most of us don't even celebrate it. It's just on to the next goal and on to the next goal. That it's this inevitable track of I have to wait to be happy until I achieve a goal, yet it's momentary. And what James Clear argues is that you actually don't have to live that type of life. That if we focus on the system and the process, and we learn how to let go of outcomes that we can't control, we can actually be content and happy on a regular basis. Because when we're committed to a system and a process, we're continually to be in the rhythms of what we're trying to accomplish. Goals are good for setting direction, but systems are best for making progress. And behind every system of actions are a system of beliefs. The first step then is not what or how, but who. Who we are precedes what we do. By knowing what I value, I truly know what I want. Tim Maurer shares in his book, Simple Money, that our values are simply the stuff in life that we want to be about, that which we want to define us, the guideposts we choose to live by. Values are critical in financial planning as the anchors for our goals and boundaries for the actions we take to achieve them. But most of all, values make the hardest decisions in life much easier by helping us prioritize what truly is the most important. Understanding what you value most will help simplify even the most complex financial decisions. The starting point is clarity. Money is a means to an end. So listeners, I ask you, what is the end that you're working towards? In his book, High Performance Habits, Brendon Burchard shares that the most successful people know the answers to certain fundamental questions. Who am I? What do I value? What are my strengths and weaknesses? What's the stuff that really matters? Why is money really important? I want to leave you guys with an exercise that I have found helpful in working with our professional athlete clients that will help you start to gain clarity on what it is that you value, what is the end goal. In episode 20, I asked athletes to imagine that ESPN was doing a 30 for 30 special on their life. For the founders and entrepreneurs listening in, I want you to imagine that it's a Forbes documentary doing a story on your life. What would that story say? What type of spouse were you? What type of parent, friend, teammate, or boss? Who were you in social settings with strangers? What impact did you have on the community? What defined the way that you played the game as an athlete or you did business as an entrepreneur? Ultimately, how will you be remembered? Guys, I want you to take this serious because at the end of the day, I find so much of our life is consumed with busyness, of chasing down the next meeting, the next client, hitting the next home run, achieving the big contract. And yet, so many of us know that if we don't take the time to define who we are as people and what we truly value, we're going to be disappointed at the end. And so, audience, I appreciate the time that you've spent with me. I'm going to make sure that I put all of these links in the show notes so that you guys can come back, revisit these questions, make sure that you're using them as a guidepost as you move forward. And of course, if you guys have questions, please reach out to me at Erik@athleteceo.com. And if you enjoyed this, please head over to iTunes, leave a review for us. You know, if there's something that you'd like us to change or maybe someone you'd love for us to interview, we would love to hear this. You know, this show is all for the audience. And so I really appreciate your guys' time, and I look forward to spending it with you next week on another episode of the Athlete CEO Podcast.